The Senate GOP has a new target, President Biden's pick to lead the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division.
Dating back to your days when in school, when you seemed to argue that African Americans were genetically superior to Caucasians.
Texas Senator John Cornyn grilled Kristen Clarke about her writings in college this week. Somehow he didn't understand it was satire. And during the same Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, Senator Tom Cotton leaned into the defund the police narrative, saying every cop should be terrified if she gets confirmed. Republicans are also opposing Vanita Gupta's nomination as Associate Attorney General. Her confirmation vote before the Senate could come as soon as next week. Joining me now is Zerlina Maxwell, host of Zerlina on Peacock and Senior Director of Progressive Programming for SiriusXM. Hey, Zerlina, I want to start with Senator Cornyn and what seems to be his lack of understanding of satire. Here is the exchange between he and Clarke.
You seem to argue that African Americans were genetically superior to Caucasians. Is that correct?
No, Senator. That I believe you're referring to an op-ed that I wrote at the age of 19 about the bell curve theory, a racist book that equated DNA with genetics and race. As a black student at Harvard that time, we took grave offense to this book. This op-ed opened with a satirical reference to the statement that you just noted.
This was satire?
Absolutely, Senator.
Zerlina, do you want to bet that he doesn't know what satire is, or do you want to bet that he willfully ignored the fact that this was satire?
You know, in this case, I'm actually not sure, Alicia, but
Fair enough.
I think that, you know, the bottom line is it's pretty funny that one of the mistakes he made has to do with something like the bell curve and the Republicans cynically acting like Kristen Clarke is the person who has these racist beliefs when it's really folks in their own party who have been saying things along the lines of some of the arguments made in the bell curve. The bell curve is essentially the pseudo-scientific basis for white supremacy, saying that, you know, the size of a black person's skull means that they are inferior to a white person. And so, you know, that the bell curve and the basis for this racism has led to a lot of ugly things in American history. And it's something that we have to think about really critically today. I think Kristen Clarke, in some ways, is just a mirror held up to this current Republican Party, and they don't like what they see.
Right. I thought that was so interesting that you very much have such a sharp contrast in this moment when you talk about racism in America and the party's willingness to grapple with these questions. So I think that's part of why this attracted so much attention, Zerlina, right? That it wasn't just about this moment. It wasn't just about the fact that he was ignoring that it was satire. It wasn't just about how well prepared she was for that moment. She was clearly very prepared, knew they were going to try to make an issue of this. It's about the fact that it represents the more fundamental contrast between the two parties in this moment.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, the Republican Party, they represent a shrinking portion of the American voting population, and they know that. And one of the things they would like to say is that Kristen Clarke is some radical and that she hates American institutions of government. But she's worked for these institutions. She's not anti-law enforcement. Law enforcement organizations have written letters in support of her, saying that she was an excellent ally as a prosecutor. So somebody who hates those institutions is not going to continually work within them. Sure, she thinks that certain institutions should be reformed, like the police, but I don't know. I guess Republicans are in a place where they want to both be on the side of law and order and the police, but they want us to completely forget the fact that they lied about the election and it led to a violent insurrection that cost the lives of law enforcement.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.